Hello again, everybody, and welcome into Gamecock Central Radio. It is opening day 2016 for Gamecock baseball season, and we are ready to get baseball underway. Emerson Phillips and Wes Mitchell here to talk about it with you. Wes, an exciting time for baseball fans, kind of a rite of spring. The opening day of baseball season means that warm weather is not far away, and we're expecting good weather this weekend for the Gamecock season opening series at Founders Park. How are you?
I'm great, man. I think there, for anybody that's a baseball fan, there's something kind of special about opening day. It's almost like it's not just a baseball game. There's just something about going to the ballpark, sitting out there, hearing the ping of the bat for the first time. If you haven't been to the scrimmages, and getting out there with some fans again. It's always a little bit more special when it's beautiful weather like it is today and supposed to be, I think, throughout the weekend. So that should be good for Gamecock fans wanting to get out there and, have a hot dog at the ballpark and enjoy what is now Founders Park. That's going to take me forever to get used to saying instead of Carolina Stadium, I think. But I know Gamecock fans are excited, but this one, it almost feels like this one kind of snuck up on us, I think. You look at the success of the basketball team this year and the way the baseball season ended last year, obviously not the way South Carolina fans are used to a baseball season ended. I almost feel like baseball season just snuck right on up on us.
Yeah, it really does feel that way, and it's funny how, having good men's and women's basketball teams makes the time between the end of football season and the start of baseball season go by a lot quicker. The men's and women's basketball teams having good seasons this year. So that's helped pass the time as we get set for the start of baseball season. And today's the day, 4 o'clock first pitch at Founders Park in Columbia against Albany. 3-game weekend series here. We'll have a 2 o'clock first pitch Saturday, 1:30 start time on Sunday. Wes, the Gamecocks dealing with injuries, and the season hasn't even started. We're looking at redshirting 4 pitchers this year, headlined, of course, by Will Crow, maybe the ace of the staff, and promising freshman Harrison Smith among these 4 pitchers that will be redshirted. So there's a shortage, Wes, to start the year of left-handed pitching, and Chad Holbrook, now in his 4th year, is going to start 3 righties this weekend against Albany.
Yeah, and also in that bunch, Cody Morris, he was a very, very highly rated high school kid who comes in. South Carolina kind of avoided the draft there with him, with the injury, and someone that I think has a bright future in the program. And then John Park, I think, was a pretty highly rated guy that is a lefty that's going to redshirt as well. So, that obviously some of those guys not being around hurts South Carolina. Now, I think with Will Crow and Cody Morris, that was kind of already known that they weren't going to have those guys to count on. So they could go ahead and, account for that. But yeah, 3 righties this weekend. I'm curious to see how Clark Smith, who I've heard has just been lights out this offseason, how he does, how he fares as a Friday guy. He'll actually be the first righty to start in that role since way back the Blake Cooper days in 2010. So South Carolina, interestingly enough, has gone with lefties on Friday is kind of the way it's worked out. The kid Saturday, Braden Webb, I'm interested to see him because, he's a guy that's come off of injuries as well, but was a very, very highly touted guy coming out. And then Taylor Widener on Sunday, someone that's pitched a lot for this program. And, I think to that same end, I'm very curious to see how the closer's role shakes out because it seems like there's not really a true set guy right now for that role. So I think it's probably going to be closer by committee, and that's something they'll have to battle it out as the year goes on. But you know what, Emerson, I think you look at some of these really great South Carolina baseball teams, and it almost seems like every single one of them had a pretty surefire closer. So I think that's something that South Carolina's going to have to address as the season goes on.
Yeah, the injury situation with the pitching staff has forced Taylor Widener into a starting role, or maybe that's not the best way to describe it, Wes. Holbrook said this week that he feels like Widener is best suited as a starter. Widener was coming out of the bullpen last year. He'll be the Sunday starter this weekend. So it's sophomore righty Clark Schmidt from Ackworth, Georgia, getting the opening day nod. Freshman Braden Webb from Oklahoma will start Saturday's game, Wes, and he's an interesting story by himself based on the fact that he has not pitched competitively in 2 years. He had surgery his senior year of high school and sat out last year to rehabilitate the injury, and now he's ready to go. Saturday starter for the Gamecocks this weekend against Albany, and then Taylor Widener Jr. from Aiken, South Aiken High, pitching on Sunday. So, not an ideal situation, obviously, with the pitching staff coming into the year, and it looks like Chad Holbrook, is going to have his work cut out trying to find the right pieces, not just for the starting rotation, but for the bullpen as well.
Yeah, and, I think I look at this batting order top to bottom, and to me, at least on paper, it's got a chance to be a much better lineup than what South Carolina put on the field. But as we all know, in college baseball, you got to have the pitching to compete. When South Carolina's been really good, it's because they've been really good on the mound. So I think, they probably actually do feel pretty good about those first three guys this weekend, and obviously that's where it all starts. But I think, again, the depth as far as the pitchers go and kind of the end innings there, the closing role, I think those are the big question marks right now.
All right, so we've got Alex Destino, Marcus Mooney, Gene Cone, D.C. Arendas, some of the position players that will return this year for South Carolina, but a lot of new faces will be on the field today and all season, Wes. We could talk about the two freshmen here, Brandon McElwain, obviously, who will compete for playing time right away at the quarterback position for the Gamecock football team, starting with spring practice in about 3 weeks. He'll be on the baseball team as well. Hit 2 home runs in the first scrimmage of the preseason a couple of weeks ago, so a lot of folks are excited about him. We don't yet know what role he will have with the baseball team, but he is on the baseball team. And another hot prospect, freshman T.J. Hopkins out of Somerville, will start in the outfield here on opening day for Gamecock baseball. So a lot of new faces this year, Wes.
Yeah, I think you look across the board. There's new faces both from the high school ranks. There's new faces from the JUCO ranks. I think L.T. Tolbert, another true freshman, I've heard has looked really, really good out there from the reports from camp. And then, some of the JUCO guys, you look at Jonah Bride, the infielder, then you look at Dom Thompson-Williams, who I think is a guy that just is absolutely what South Carolina needed to bring in. You look at a middle-of-the-order hitter. He's a JUCO guy, so he's a little bit more mature, a little bit older. He actually grew up about an hour and a half from Omaha, and he became a South Carolina fan. Even though he's from Iowa, this kid was a South Carolina fan kind of growing up through his high school years because he went to Omaha and saw those great South Carolina teams play out there. He brings, I think, some added leadership and athleticism to the outfield, something I think they needed. So, I think across the board, you have a couple of mainstays coming back, but across the board you have guys that are going to step right in and have a chance to play and get opening day starts this weekend that are going to be new names for a lot of people. And then I think you do have some of the returners that I think are very much set to take a big step forward. Alex Destino, who I guess is going to be in a first base / DH role. The big lefty, I think, is a middle-of-the-order power hitter who's just taking his game to another level this offseason. And they'll obviously, with trying to replace Kyle Martin, they're going to need that bat in the middle of the order moving forward. So, it's kind of interesting. They're lacking lefty pitchers, but then you look at the middle of that order, and there's actually going to be a large group of lefty hitters, it seems like, that are sort of gap-to-gap or power-hitting guys.
All right, a blend of some veterans coming back. Destino headlines that group with Mooney, Cone, and Arendas, and some young talent that will be blended with the veterans to try to give the Gamecocks a solid season here in 2016. Gamecock Central Radio, Emerson Phillips and Wes Mitchell previewing the 2016 Gamecock baseball season. We invite you to download the free phone apps that allow you to listen to Gamecock Central Radio on your phone. We have an iPhone app, and we have an Android app, and we're on iTunes. Just search Gamecock Central Radio for all three. Wes, it looks like Jonah Bride will start at third, and we got a battle for playing time at the catcher position as well. Chris Cullen and John Jones battling for that role. They'll both likely play, and the other, whichever one's not starting at catcher, could be used as the DH. Destino certainly a possibility there as well. So, Chad Holbrook's got some talent on the program. He talked about the fact that he's got 12 or 13 kids in the program that are very athletic. So it's just a matter of finding the right combination of lineup, and that process starts today.
Yeah, and, I think you got Hunter Taylor kind of in the mix there at catcher as well. And I think the interesting thing about that is that, both through the recruiting process and the developmental process. They went from, I think, a catcher position that was one of their weaknesses last year. I don't think anybody would argue against that, to a spot that's going to be a strength this year, both in the talent and in the depth department. Cullen, a kid you bring in as a highly touted high school guy. Jones, someone you bring in as a highly touted JUCO guy. And then the other example, Taylor, a kid who's just worked his tail off and has very much developed as from one year to the next. So, I think that's the way you want to do it. You want to kind of build your team in multiple different ways. And right there at the catcher position, you see three guys that have come in from kind of much different, paths, but all three are going to have a chance to contribute to this team. And, I think Hunter Taylor got better as the year went on last year. And obviously, I think he's had a good offseason to be there in the mix as well. So, I think really top to bottom, I think this batting order, and I think that the team that they're able to put into the field is going to be a team that can get the job done. Now, obviously, we all know there's going to be peaks and valleys in a baseball season. I think sometimes fans maybe get a little too much involved and don't kind of jump to conclusions when there's a down weekend or an up weekend. But that's baseball for you. And I think as this season plays out, I'm not really worried too much about the batting order or even the defense. I think ultimately it goes back to does South Carolina have enough pitchers that can count on.
Beautiful weather expected this weekend at Founders Park in Columbia. High temperature expected to be in the low 70s Saturday and Sunday as the fourth year of the Chad Holbrook era gets underway. The 124th season of Gamecock baseball getting underway this weekend. Again, 4 o'clock first pitch Friday, 2 p.m. start Saturday, and a 1:30 first pitch on Sunday. The Gamecocks will then play midweek games against App State on Tuesday, Winthrop on Wednesday, both those at Founders Park as well. Carolina will face Clemson March 4th through the 6th. The first game will be in Columbia, the second game in Greenville, and the third game in Clemson. Again, March 4th through the 6th. And Gamecock baseball opens SEC play March the 16th at home against Arkansas. Wes, opening day, college baseball, always a lot of fun. Going to be a beautiful weather weekend at Founders Park, and we're excited about Gamecock baseball here on Gamecock Central Radio. Man, great to have you again today.
Absolutely, man. We'll talk to you soon. I'm sure we'll be talking some Gamecock recruiting, so I hope everyone will tune in for our next Gamecock Central Radio.
Thank you, Wes. Wes Mitchell. You can follow him on Twitter. Hit him up on Twitter at Wes Mitchell GC. And I'm Emerson Phillips. You can find me on Twitter at Emerson Phillips. Plenty more Gamecock baseball to come here on Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend.